Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football as much as I do. Let me get it out the way. I'm an idiot for picking Tennessee to beat Georgia. Georgia is not just better than Tennessee by far, but they clearly are the best team in the country right now. Nobody comes close. Nobody. Okay? There are some good teams this year, some pretty good teams, great teams, but Georgia is the best. All right? And I have no excuses for Georgia beating Tennessee. Not as a Tennessee fan. I'm not a fan of Tennessee, but I did pick Tennessee to win that game. It is what it is. And as I've told all you fans out there that have been giving me some hate, not hate, but I'm being a little petty right now, but left me some really nice feedback about my prediction, about the possibility of Tennessee beating Georgia. Hey, it is what it is. I hope Georgia goes all the way. I hope they win it all again. Hopefully this time they go 15-0 and they don't run into a roadblock like they did last year with that fluke loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Now, on to why I actually picked Tennessee to win the game. Look, Tennessee was doing things this year that they hadn't been doing in a long time. They beat Florida. I know Florida's been struggling, but they still did it. And they beat Alabama, something they hadn't done since Nick Saban was there. And I know Alabama just lost to LSU, but they still did it, And they have been winning pretty good lately this year. They were undefeated. They were number one, clearly a top 5 team this year. I think that's fair to say, right? Clearly top 5, maybe number 6 at worst. But they're still a pretty good team. So I say, well, they're riding on momentum, and you know how in college football, momentum takes you pretty far. Even if sometimes you're a good team playing a team that's better than you, it can still get you a big win. And Georgia lately, I'm not one of the people on here that said Georgia sucks. I'm not one of them that said Georgia can't do anything. But I did say that Georgia has had quite a few games with Kent State, Missouri, and even in the Florida game where they didn't really play consistently all 4 quarters of football. What I did underestimate was how Georgia had a few injuries, most notably Carter on the defensive line. He's a beast, among others. But the thing is, I felt like, Georgia has so much talent, which they do. It shouldn't really matter to an extent because of how much talent they have. It should still be able to play the same way 4 quarters every game, like they did with Oregon, like they did with South Carolina. I feel like that kind of behavior, that kind of tendency would show up. If you look throughout the whole schedule, Clemson, for example, I know Georgia's way better than Clemson, but Clemson's still a pretty good team. I think anybody would agree with me on that, right? They've had multiple games, more than 1 or 2 games, where they didn't play 4 quarters. All right? You can look at Ohio State. Now they've had at least 2 games like that. Penn State, they didn't play 4 quarters. Now Northwestern, they didn't play 4 quarters, So that brings me back to Georgia. Now obviously I think Georgia's better than all those teams, but you get my point. But that's why I didn't pick these guys to win that game. But hey, I'm not apologizing for it. I made my pick. It is what it is. But again, I will say congrats to the Georgia Bulldogs. They were the better team then. They're the better team today. And they will probably win the whole thing this year, unless they let those tendencies of not playing 4 quarters slip up in the wrong game. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they learn from those experiences. Hopefully they learn to put 4 quarters together and dominate from here on out like they should.